Good evening, Free Enterprise fans, and welcome to tonight's race. I am Bakashinobi, and I am joined by PK4787. How are you doing this fine evening, PK?
I am doing absolutely wonderful, Baka. I'm pleased to be up here in the booth with you. We have the lovely Scala Kitty having rolled the seed on a Restreamed, and Asuka is tracking. We have two great runners here. Maybe you'd like to introduce them for us.
Certainly, we have Harumph and we have jeebus0. Both of those are... Harumph I am less familiar with. jeebus0 I remember was a participant in the Football Gauntlet, and I believe they made a rather deep push, or maybe they were just starting at that point, but they have definitely been making a name for themselves now. They are someone that I am curious to see how far they're going to push into Zeromus 3, but now that these runners are slouches, they both have one win. Both of them are going for the coveted 2 win for either a safe way into the Magma key route or push all the way for a 3-0 win to get directly to table phase of the tournament. So I think we're going to see some pretty aggressive play from these runners because I don't think either one wants to go and give up anything.
No, leave absolutely nothing behind in these races. Jeebus was actually 3-2 in the Football Gauntlet. He was who I beat for the honor of losing to Invent in the round of 32. And that may be one of the last wins I ever took off of Jeebus. And maybe, fortunately, he's definitely up there as one of my dark horses as far as one of the people who, didn't make top 32, but you certainly didn't want to get in your bracket. And Harumph, I have seen around for quite some time, so I think we're going to have two very excellent runners competing here on what's hopefully going to be one of Scala's most trolly seeds.
I'm going to wish for something different because I'm a bit of a contrarian. I want a darkness start because look at these objectives: complete Cave Bahamut, complete the Vanilla Ribbon Room, complete Antlion Nest. You only need the Darkness Crystals to complete all 3 of those. You don't even need that from Antlion to complete Antlion. So have that. Yeah, start with Atella. So there's a grind solved. You can go and do D machines after you complete ordeals, and then you just make these runners sprint through this siege. Take no prisoners and show off how quickly can you go from starting go mode to the end completing these objectives.
Yep, this is... trolls come in all different shapes and sizes, but looking at these objectives, there are definitely 2 options, and one is darkness as early as possible, and number 2 is you get a Magma key early, and then you have about 6 different places that you're looking for darkness, and you're just worried that your opponent is going to be the one to find it first, because these things, once they open up, and you only need 1 key item, it really, really, really comes down to who guesses the right spot.
Yep, this is a race to the Darkness Crystal. That's very, you can't complete the siege without the Darkness Crystal because 2 objectives are gated behind it, and we're going to start, and let's see what we're starting with. Rose is definitely not bad. Yeah, I'm going being the boss in Baron Castle and the Pan, so as soon as we get underground, I imagine our runners will be beelining that check because the Darkness Crystal will be somewhere on Earth. In the overworld, you're guaranteed to have past the underground. Between the underground and the overworld, you are guaranteed to have the Darkness Crystal, which is the pass to the final area of the game, the Moon. It also grants access to the Giant of Babel, which is relevant in this because while we might not be on there and checked, Tella can go and enable a very, very strong grind winner in the form of the D-Machine grind, which is used in the vanilla No 64 speedrun.
Yeah, and as Chad is pointing out, Yang offering you the implement with which to be struck by later on when you find him napping.
I think Yang is a bit of a time traveler today because he's clearly come back in time, handing him the pan to wake him up from his slumber down in Sylph Cave so he can go and get himself to Baron.
I think the question is how far back in time did Yang travel, because we could either be going down there with the hook, we could be going down there with the Magma key, or there's, as you mentioned, there's a possibility we don't end up underground at all in this seed.
Which would be all the more reason why Yang is giving it to us. Like, I'm giving it to you, find the Darkness Crystal, never come back to Earth. I want my sleep.
Take this. I stole it from my wife. She keeps hitting me with it.
But we do see Harumph picking up a Rydia and an Edge in Mysidia. Edge is going to go and be a very big pickup because early on he is a very powerful character. He starts at level 25 and starts with some pretty solid gear, all things considered. Furthermore, that Rydia, not going to be very powerful early on, but with a Darkness Crystal required, keep her at level 1. You can slingshot her thanks to characters who are 5 levels behind the median level getting double experience. And you can take her from liability and weak to straight up Nuke Caster, one of the big focal points of your DPS at the end game.
Definitely. Rydia in these flags, because she gets warped so early, you do see more people taking Rydia. But the middle part of Rydia is absolutely not something you want to keep around unless, as you mentioned, you can just skip that part entirely. But my big question with a seed like this is, the longer it takes to get Darkness, how long are you hanging on to some of these characters where they're only going to be good if you slingshot them? The longer you go without finding Darkness, the harder it is to justify doing a D-Machine fight, in my mind.
That's very true. I feel it's really going to depend on how much our runners have to spend leveling up on Earth. If they have to go through, Fey March, and they need to get up to the mid-30s to get through that, I can see D-Machines going off the table. But if they can do a low 20s Dwarf Castle fight, well, that seems a lot easier to go and justify with, I can go and just... I'm not even 100,000, I'm barely 100,000 experience into this, and I need another 800,000 or so to go and take out Zeromus. Maybe I go and just do a D-Machine grind then, rather than trying to get Siren.
I'm 100% with you there. And with the new manips that we might see, even with this can't run flag, the D-Machine isn't something that is going to be dangerous setting up with this can't run, or that difficult for either of these runners.
Indeed. And to answer a question from chat, so are there no random encounters, or is this something being used to repel them? In Free Enterprise, the default state for encounters is to be toggled off.6However, the runners can go into the custom menu and turn encounters on. That is something that we have for this tournament. We actually did consider making it so there would be no random encounters anywhere, but decided that would be a bit too rough on certain situations.
Yeah, I think during the Fabul Gauntlet, there was a lot of D-Machine, but then there's also a character who's no longer in these seeds that I think balances out choosing whether you want to do a D-Machine or not a little more, as well as that can't run flag.
True, we did make it so that Fusoya is never going to appear in any of these character spots. We also have See Maybe, so we can go and see multiple copies of one character and none of another, as we have seen 2 copies of Rosa so far, but no copies of people like Kane or Cecil.
Yeah, and that's always, this is all a big part of this early game decision making, and when you have someone like Tella, how long are you going to stick around with the Tella if you can't find the Darkness and you can't get that D-Machine? How long, is it good to take a Cecil? Is it good to, carry a Rydia around after you've used Rydia for Warp? There is a lot that you have to decide now that there are, 5 bonus characters on the table compared to the Fabul Gauntlet flags.
Oh yeah. One of the things that's also important is that we did turn on the vanilla agility flag for this flag set, or for this tournament. So normally in Free Enterprise, the middle character will go and be your agility anchor, which we can go and talk about in more detail at another point. But with the vanilla agility flag, Cecil is your anchor. And the short version is, if you go, the higher your anchor's agility is, the more fairly you have to play with the agility system. That is not something I like doing, so I usually don't like taking Cecil unless I can take 2 and keep one very low on agility and let the other one go and reach the stars with his stats.
Yep, second Cecil is a very crucial element to keeping even a single Cecil, and knowing that there's something like probably required Cave Bahamut, you really don't want to have a fast person in your center slot or a Cecil with relatively okay agility going into a place like Cave Bahamut.
Indeed, that is something that, seeing that those late game spots are required with no other option, you're going to want to have some party ready to deal with them. And speaking of being ready to deal with it, we see that we're going to need to deal with these Baron guards. And Rosie gets hit with size as the aim is queued up and does 1 point of damage.
Oh, at least they're adorable when they're tiny. But these guards probably might not have enjoyed seeing them particularly here. This would be the type of boss that you're looking for in Cave Bahamut or the Ribbon Room, when you can take advantage of the fact that they don't have the protections that most bosses do have.
Yes, this is there are a few bosses in the game that don't have this thing called the boss bit, which prevents all statuses such as stop, tiny, toad, any of those very, very game-changing statuses you can apply on things like the Baron guards, the Kaipo guards, and a few other bosses that are, they look like normal fights, but they are story fights, so they get thrown into the boss pool.
And they are fun to run into. Of course, there's not much value to farming them for XP, but the world is opening up very quickly, Baka.
Well, I'm glad to see one of us who is hoping for these poor runners to be given a wide open seed where it's a wide race to the Magma Key for the Darkness Crystal, because it could be anywhere on Earth now. With that Magma Key, we can now get access to the Underground, where we opened up another 4 spots directly, and there are 5 spots directly, and then that pan gives us another 2 more, because Underground we have, there's 6 spots. I keep miscounting because of the dwarf glitch. This is the dwarf glitch.
So this also means shopping. This means you could be getting sirens. This means, you might, if you find sirens, coffins this early, you might be abandoning that Tela for somebody who can do real damage. But this is now those 6 checks plus ordeals plus Baron Inn plus Fabul defense. There are now 9 places that you're looking for just one key item that's going to put you in go mode. So Scala had said that they would have preferred maybe a hook seed, but this for me makes it that much more entertaining, because I would be sweating very aggressively right now if that was the item I got out of the required Antlion.
And speaking of sweating aggressively, Jeebus probably looks a bit damp over there, but the Ogopogo is probably not going to go and be causing him too much issues. This spot only goes and does some very mild physical damage and mild magic damage, because it's the Mylon and Friends fight in the middle of the game. Yeah, down goes Ogopogo, not even an issue. Rydia gaining levels, which means that she's not going to be in slingshot range, because she will, or very much so, not be 5 levels behind the median party level. Meanwhile, Harumph, having found the Magma Key in the first location he checked of that required Antlion nest, going straight into Agert, going to open up the Underground, and I don't think he's going to go and do anything other than shopping, maybe check the free chest in Feymarch, and turn in that Pan that he started with, because Pan leads to, at this stage of the game, a total of 4 checks. 1 for going and waking up Yang, the Sylphs will give you something in their cave. You'll get another 2 from Sheila, 1 for speaking with Yang underground, and a 2nd for going to speak to her after hitting Yang with a Pan. And then there's the 4th check of, at Fabul, there's the Fabul defense, which you can do to go and potentially get a key item. Lots of stuff going and putting you there, and the longer you spend not doing that, the more time you can spend thinking, has my opponent done this, and am I behind?
Yep, so here's my question for you, Baka. Let's say we get the Pan turn in, and you do Fabul defense, and you end up now with Earth Crystal, Harp, and Baron Key. What's your next move after that? You have every check on the overworld that you can make, and one of them is darkness, and everything else is nothing that you want. Where are you going?
Ordeals, because I want my Tela online. I want my Tela to go and have all of his spells.
Good answer.
That is exactly one.
Trick question. The answer was Ordeals.
Yes, I will tell you my preferred order will be clear the overworld, because those are the fastest checks. Well, the ungated overworld. So Baron Ant, so Antlion Cave, Fabul Defense, Ordeals, Baron Inn. And then afterwards, if there are sirens available, I'm going to go and take a few levels and do Dwarf Castle, because we have the Warp Glitch on. So once you go and complete the 2 bosses at Dwarf Castle, you can get a kingdom there, and then you can use Warp to go to the Sealed Cave because of a little positioning chains that the game uses, and you can just yoink this key item out of there without requiring to actually go through the proper dungeon.
Well, let's not forget the free key item in the Fey March, the 2 Fey March bosses. There are so many places this Darkness Crystal could or could not be, and it appears like it's not up there on Mount Ordeals.
Yep. Only a defense sword from the Sylphs as well, but I'm curious if harumph is going to go straight to Fabul or is going to go and run down that Fey March to check the free chest down there and peek who the bosses are.
These are always the tough choices, particularly in a seed like this, where the time you're spending on one check is the time you are giving up doing any other potential checks. But I agree with making this play. I would shop underground the 3 primary shop checks before even turning in that pan, because I want to know, do I have sirens? Do I have hourglasses? Do I have coffins? All those things I think are very important knowledge, as well as this free key item check.
Yes, the free key item, the shop, sirens. I think if you get darkness, unless you have to go and take some hard fights, I think no matter what, you want to go and do a Dmist grind, because sirens are expensive. They cost 4,000 per. That is definitely no small spend, particularly on these flag sets where some chests are going to be empty and it's going to be a little bit harder to scrape together that cash. Ooh, Ninja Sword of the 4 chests clustered down there. Very nice for that edge we know is around. And yeah, it's going to be a bit of a time sink to go and try and find all the money to use those sirens. Then if you're going and comparing, well, do I spend more time doing a Dmist grind or do I spend more time doing a siren grind, getting the resources to do a siren grind? I think the Dmist grind wins out.
Oh yeah, 13 minutes into the seed, if I have darkness, there's pretty much no question as to what the best way to get endgame levels when there's no more key item hunts left. Once you have the darkness, so you don't have to worry about running around, gaining more XP, trying to figure out where those key items are. But the longer this clock ticks, the longer the harder it is to potentially justify making that D machine. And if you have to level up to beat those Fey March bosses, you might be wiping that option right off the table.
Yep, that's very fair. That's something I'm thinking. If you have to beat the Fey March bosses, you're probably going to do siren grinding. Even if sirens aren't available, if you need to beat those Fey March bosses, you probably take edge to the lower Babel and steal sirens from those alerts, because that's something that was added to Free Enterprise in around 4.0. We restored the J drop tables, or at least Board did. I contribute a lot less. But those J drop tables are now the default, and alerts, their common drop is sirens. You can just take an edge in there and steal as many as you like. You can just go and keep stealing as long as you are in a fight.
And Jeeves finds a wyvern at arguably incredibly free spot, as long as your edge's first swing manages to be for more than 400 damage, and he only pulled 380 on the first try. So a quick reset and back in, and now you hold A, and your edge hits for a normal amount of damage. But I have to say, taking a play Jeebus out of my own awful playbook by not going to Antlion, even though it is currently required, but I don't think it's cost all that much, because this edge, you get through all of the overworld anyway. But knowing it's Magma key, there are definitely some checks that you might be liking to make right now, as opposed to the routing that we're on.
Yeah, I can see, and when you start with the edge, that really does open up all the overworld. There is no reason not to just pick the spot you want to do most, which Ordeals is definitely reasonable to be a most desirable spot for Jeebus to get Tella online. Tella he has terrible stats, but all of his spells are really good.
As long as he connects with those spells, they're good spells.
And because he's not a very speedy character either, so he doesn't gain a lot of agility, and he can go and anchor very well. A thing about Final Fantasy IV being one of the first games using an ATB system is they kind of had to figure out, how do we go and do these ATB increments? How do we go and determine how long a turn is? And the way they decided on was they would go and use in the base game, Cecil's agility. Whatever his agility is, that would go and be the determining number for after so many ticks, this thing gets a turn at this agility, and after so many ticks, your characters get a turn at that agility, and every 5 ticks, Cecil will get a turn. And then everything is based around that agility. So Cecil is actually a pretty speedy character. He starts at 10 agility as a Dark Knight, and 13 agility as a Paladin. And to reach the maximum speed that you can be taking turns in the game, you need to be 2.5 times, more than 2.5 times faster than your anchor. So if you play the vanilla game, you probably never found a situation where you're going incredibly fast because you probably leveled Cecil, and you probably didn't have any character who was at like 60 agility when Cecil was at 20.
Yeah, Cecil typically was a decent choice for them to use as an anchor because for almost all situations he is in the party, so using him was, if not maybe sometimes broken, still a logical choice. But yeah, I don't think anyone playing this vanilla for whatever reason would have just accidentally had Cecil be their lowest level member of any party.
No, and Jeebus is discovering the hook. Hopefully, Jeebus remembers that the way to the underground can logically not be this hook because there are 3 bosses who are prohibited from gaining the way underground. Valvalis, Golbez, and Wyvern. And Wyvern was blocking one of the 2 boss fights at Baron Inn, so this is a way underground. This is not the way underground.
Well, this is a Scala seed, so there is always the potential that there's some sort of hidden character who is waiting at the hook route. I'm not saying that that's what Jeebus' plan is here, but I would be surprised, at least, to say if Jeebus avoids doing that required antlion before chasing a hook route.
You know what would be somewhat amazing? If at King Queen Evelyn, there was a certain boss that's easy to miss.
That missed opportunity?
It's
King Queen Evelyn?
Someone down there that, well, the first boss of the game, Dmist, who decided to go and change in the sense that in the vanilla game, if you go and to Toria Castle and speak with Edward in the bed, he gives you the Twin Harp. This is usually done late in the game, just after you get the Enterprise. Well, we start with the Enterprise and free Enterprise, so we don't really always like giving out free items, that many free items easily, so we throw it on Mist Dragon. And if Mist Dragon's in any spot in these flag sets, you defeat Mist Dragon and come back to Mist Village and talk to Viridia's mother. She'll have a key item. And if, say, Dmist is hiding out on a not required hook path in the spot that you cannot go and scout in any way, shape, or form until after you've gone and committed to the fight, that would be a pretty good troll, in my opinion.
100%. Speaking of which, that starting pan was about worth to you what the iron in it could sell for, because that was a package and an apple. So we are still not much closer than where we were to figuring out where darkness is. I believe that tower key came from the first Fabul, or the Fabul defense.
That sounds reasonable to me, because I do know that Luca key came from the free chest in Feymarch. Yes, that's Harumph has a lot of keys right now and is going to go and find a hook to put them all in a ring with, while Jeebus is going and doing a fair amount of looting in Evelyn Castle. And we do go and have a special loot weighting system for these flag sets. So we have T Wildish, where some locations will have better loot than others. Usually it's locations that have trap chests. Oh, pardon me.
Yep. I was just going to say, with that hook as well, the Cave Evelyn is pretty strong, and access to that shop is nice in this the S standard flag, which means that could have some high tier items as far as the J items go, and then you also get another character check. But if Jeebus is trying to take a play out of my book by not doing Antlion, I think he might have missed the part where I lost that race to Invenerable. It didn't go well. There was a very important key item there, and it set me back quite a ways. So, okay, thank you. Quit playing with me. Go to Antline. Learn from my mistakes.
Yes, Hughes decided that, yeah, I guess we should probably do this. He has extra incentive not to not skip it, because it is a required objective for him.
I did pull some good loot out of there. I saw a tiara, which is going to be really nice if you're running mages, if you're planning on using Rydia on a slingshot. That basically gets her from a power standpoint much closer to where Palom would be without any gear from a nuke casting against Zeromus. So gained a few nice pieces of equipment, has access to that shop, but now going to realize the same thing I did, which is the longer you don't go to Antlion, the longer somebody gets ahead of you from your from the point of if there's a key item that you really want there.
Yeah, and Harumph is going to have an easier time because I'm pretty sure his ninja, his edge, has a ninja sword, which is a very strong sword for edge. It high attack and it gives +5 strength, so he's going to be able to go and get through DPS checks faster than Jeebus was. And now Jeebus is completing Antlion Cave, finishing objective number 4, and getting the Magma Key, which he is definitely going to be, yuck.
Yep, this not what you want to see in this position after having looted Castle Eblin and sort of set yourself up with the expectation that you're going to take that hook route. But having gotten everything set up there, that shop could provide some very important utility items for the rest of this seed. As you mentioned, D-Machine is still very much on the table. If you can get yourself some hourglasses, some mute bells, some sirens, Bacchus wine, the longer this seed runs, the more appealing it's going to look to do, gold dragons or eggs or warlocks or something like that on your way to one of these 2 final lunar checks that we're going to see.
Yep, I mean, Harumph is sitting at 5 key items. Yes, he only needs 1 more, but he's going to be getting 6 soon, and 10 key items doubles the experience you get on these flags, so that's something that can be very helpful. That's something where D-Machine, a lot of it, you save time because you're doing you're effectively doing all of your grind fights at the same time, just back to back by summoning repeated D-Machines. Where with the Siren, if you only need to go and summon 2 or 3 fights, well, they're definitely going to be much more efficient.
Yep. And Harumph finding the 10,000 spoons when all you need is a crystal. If you end up with 10 key items when all you need at the start of the game is the Darkness Crystal, you are sweating very profusely because you were just like, well, my opponent probably got there faster, and key items are great to have, but it's an indication that I've done a lot of things that weren't necessarily required to do.
Yeah, and that always feels bad. That comes down to depending on where that darkness is, because we know now it is not in any easily open check for the runners. We have gone and seen the Antlion and all of the easy checks underground behind that Magma Key. We've seen all of the overworld checks, and we've turned in the Pan. None of those have the Darkness Crystal. One of them leads to a Tower Key. Tower Key is not the hardest check. It's actually pretty easy, but when you do Tower Key, you usually want to go and check the item at the top of the tower as well. And that is a noticeably more difficult fight because it has somewhere around 18,000 HP or so. Gives a lot of experience as well, but you're slogging through a fair bit of fight and you want some level of damage.
Yeah, it's not typically the hardest fight, but it's something that, without good gear on that edge, without a good summon that can take away a chunk of damage, it's just a long fight because you get the same amount of XP basically for those 2 dwarf fights that have 1/4 of the hit points as the top of tower fight.
Yep. And that is something that that can go and be interesting to try and get in early, but not so functional to actually go and get in early. And we do see Harumph is going to Baron Inn, is going to find the Wyvern and the Palom and the Hook there, while Jeebus is going opening up underground, is going to go and find all the things that they have missed so far. But right now, it kind of feels that harumph has a slight edge on number of checks just because they have not done nearly as much looting as Jeebus has. Jeebus has a lot of nice stuff, but harumph having the lead on checks is probably going to be more important if we've got a lot of mages in the seed. Mages can do a lot of work without a lot of equipment.
Yeah, and I would say right now the difference is that time looting Castle Eblin overall, which, called maybe 90 seconds, called maybe 2 minutes, but this is where I think this is where the seed is going to break entirely open. If they both route the same, then harumph can probably hang on to that lead. But we got Tower Key, we got Dwarf Castle, which is 2 checks with Warp. This is where if one person goes one direction and one person goes the other, this isn't enough time where, one person can make both those checks before the other one gets through one of them.
And those are both 6 one way, half dozen the other checks. Is there, we have not seen sirens, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Not so far.
And that's something you can go and do for divergence.
Yep, but I am curious. I'm not totally sure if harumph checked all the item shops or was just so eager to go and make that pan turn in with the expectation, I'll be back in Dwarf Castle. But
Jeebus, really eager to make that pan turn in as well.
Yeah. Check your freebies is something we hear Jeebus say a lot. And you definitely, this is the most freebies, or these are the big freebies as far as with a starting pan.
Oh yeah, that's something where I imagine that's something that's probably scaring Jeebus more than a small bit, because knowing that Magma Key was in Antline Cave, and the Antline Cave is required, so his opponent probably went in beeline there because there's not a great reason not to. And then seeing, oh, this is Magma, and we started with Pan, and there are 3 checks, I have to check this right this second. I have to drop everything and check this, which is going to hurt him a bit because harumph was able to go and take a more leisurely route around the underworld, just because he knew if he was going to be losing any time, he was only going to be losing a little bit, and all the checks he'd be doing would be giving him more preparation. So
yeah, if I'm Jeebus here and I'm going through these checks, I'm saying to myself, don't be the Darkness Crystal. Please don't be the Darkness Crystal. So yeah, this would be, if I go on Antlion immediately, this would be the next check that I would be making. And if I had done everywhere else on the overworld and then discovered Magma in Antlion, I would feel like they're already up doing their D machine right now, and I've got a little bit of catching up to do.
oh yeah, that's it's a scary feeling. I imagine both runners are always going to feel behind just because of the number of checks they've had to open, and we'll figure that we're going to check the other ones first. And harumph is coming directly into Dwarf Castle and finding the Dark Imps. This is something that they're going to punch pretty hard. It's not a weak spot, and that is 3 characters down, and 2 characters down and 1 almost down in 3 punches.
Oh yeah, those imps get riled up and they get real punchy real quick. They don't play around in certain spots with enough physical damage. Yeah,
this is that's a wipe for harumph. What I was thinking was, Chella should be able to get a stone off, and that will go and take out these. No, Chella is not getting a stone off.
This is one of those situations. We did see one Cecil. I don't know if you noticed, Baka, but Jeebus checked on Mount Hobbs, and there was a Cecil there. I don't know if we've seen great gear, but this is where you start having to question that trade-off, because if there's one thing Cecil is good at, it's getting hit and not being phased.
Yeah, he can do a lot of work with that cover ability. He can wear a lot of heavy armor and just soak a lot of damage easily, and that's by having that great HP growth. But man, is that vanilla agility scary. Yeah, I actually did a seed recently where I just told myself, I don't care whether or not it's optimal or not, I am finding a Cecil, I'm taking them just to go and have a solid comparison of what the difference is between having, being forced to play fair agility and not being forced to play fair agility. I did so poorly that seed.
Well, it gets terrifying. I've run into someone like Evil Wall when you don't have a good anchor. Evil Wall doesn't even care that you have people making inputs. Evil Wall just goes 7 straight times and wipes your team, and you're just standing there like, I pushed hit, like, please.
Yeah. Ooh, and the Mega Sisters at the Golbez spot in Dwarf Castle, that is definitely not a bad thing to find, because this is some pretty tepid magic power. And a second edge. This is this is a decision. Who do you get rid of?
Yeah, this is the conundrum. Are you gonna stick with... This is the conundrum. Are you sticking with Tella because you want to do that D machine, or are you getting ready to grind through more normal ways to experience and keeping the Tella? So D machine is still on the table for harumph.
Yep. And 82 damage on Palom, definitely not the worst thing to have come out. It's Mega Sisters can be pretty scary because magic in some spots can be really rude, but in general, this spot, because it's the vanilla Golbez fight, does not have strong magic power.
Yep, and they are in very specific spots. Their script is bizarre because of the way and where you find them in the game. They can get really, really fast, but here's a pretty free spot to find them.
And that is from through Dwarf Castle. We're going to go and see if there's value here, if this is where the darkness is, if the warp glitch will go and lead us to darkness, or if we are still on a hunt.
And this might play slightly to Jeebus' favor had he gone into Dwarf there, just because he did pick up coffins from that check. So at first, battle speed 1 running into those dark imps, if you don't have something like that you're ready to immediately cast, you can still get through it, as we saw with harumph. Just sort of take a deep breath, refresh, turn the battle speed down a little bit. But with coffins, you might be able to just queue those up and not have to worry about taking 9 punches before you get 2 inputs off.
Yeah, that's really hard to get through. Legend Sword, which, I mean, Legend Sword and Animate is one of the objectives. Not exactly the favorite objective, but that could go and save you a spot to go and have to fight on the moon. Now you can either choose to check Cape Bahamut and do that, or the vanilla ribbon room. And getting the Artemis bow from there, huh?
Well, we're still on the hunt here, Baka.
We still have Tower and the Feymarch fights open, and then we still have, anything else that pops up on Earth, because we can still get Twin Harp, Earth Crystal, and Baron Key to extend this rabbit hole on Earth.
Yeah, and that isn't to say that at King Queen, I mean, we've pitched it. This is a Scala seed. There are a couple places where Dmist could be. You have the Luca Key. So Dmist would be in logic to be down in Luca Cave holding the Darkness Crystal.
Very hard to go and argue against that. Yes, that's what's also... I just thought of something ruder. Neither of our runners have checked the vanilla Dmist Cave, have they?
That is a very fair point, and Jeebus has beaten me on more than one occasion in pickup races on having made that check. But this is, this is what I really love about watching the live races. Knowing you're on the restream, knowing all these things is, people who are usually very, very well kept, run things very smoothly. The minute that you're doing a 1v1 on a restreamed race for, the potential to not have to play in the Hook or the Magma groups, when you start to sweat, you start to forget one or two sub things, and I know everybody is fallen victim to that.
Oh yeah, I have a very bitter memory from having to Dmist Zone 2 qualifier seeds of I clear the entire Earth through a vicious Kanazo at Hook. I just finished clearing the sealed cave, which is clearly this is where the Darkness Crystal is when I see a dun come in. And then I find that I have spent the entire time on Earth getting absolutely nothing, and it's Dmist sitting in their home.
I recall there being some qualifier for Dmist Zone 2 where Moonblaze beat 14 people by a minimum of 30 minutes each because of that same type of situation.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I'm remembering. That is exactly that seed. I was very bitter.
There we
I
go.
now,
Yeah.
I now check that cave religiously because fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, that hurt.
1v1s, I try to be as methodical as possible in the early game, specifically for that reason. But to get to our runners, those dolls, I would really like to see Jeebus take that, but I like that we're sort of looking at a divergence here. Because
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that Jeeb stays down in the Sylph Cave, Harumph now taking on the tower. This is where one person will potentially have to gain an advantage over the other, or you might find a rabbit hole and somebody might end up, clearing a lot of those checks you mentioned before.
Oh yeah. And Harumph getting through the elements fight, that is something, elements is probably my favorite place to say reflect kills are not just for Zeromus, because the Mylan phase just punches. There's a lot of ways you can go and make those punches not so bad, and then you just reflect spells off of a wall to not trigger the Mylan phase, not get into the Rupant script and just stay on the nice, comfortable Mylan 4x weakness to fire damage and holy damage, but getting through it without much difficulty, so hard to go and say it was a bad call to just take the fight fairly.
It's definitely one of those, in that spot, Elements isn't going to do all that much in any one of those situations. So I think, it's 50-50 if it's worth setting up the wall when you're one source of something like Fire 3, you don't have Cure 4, it's going to be telecasting it.
I mean, telecasting Fire 3 is still a lot of damage on the Mylan phase.
Oh, very fair.
It is still easy to get up to quad 9s even when it's telecasting it, unless he's got a curse string on. Mylan does not take well to that whole fire thing.
We see Jeebus setting up to steal Sirens here.
Yep, killing off his entire party because even though it doesn't take time in battle to scroll through and this alert isn't going to do anything, it takes real time to keep saying, Harry, 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 I told you to go away, just stop bothering me.
And there is a specific item, or I should say a weapon that covers a fist that Jeebus has found that will allow you to not have to worry about spawning any creatures or taking a wipe. Are you familiar with what I'm referring to?
I believe you're suggesting that Jeebus has found the absolutely best claw in the game, the Thunder Claw.
Yes, the Thunder Claw. The claw of 1,000 thunderbolts. Lightning bolts? Lightning bolts, probably. But it picked up, I think, one siren, maybe two sirens. So might just be setting up in case you do have to go in and do something along the lines of those Feymarch bosses.
Seems like it. And so you go and answer a question preemptively. No, the alerts aren't actually weak to lightning. If you try and cast lightning at them, you'll probably do 1 damage unless you're trying to hit lit 3. But if you go and use a Thunderclaw on them, you're going to do a lot of damage because it's hitting the robotic weakness. The Thunderclaw hits the glacial weakness for machines.
Yep, so it is a great tool because it also does damage to the enemies that take damage from the lightning casts. And we might see, do you think we'll see it? This is a half tower play here, or just this is the quicker way in your mind going up?
I think we're going to see a half tower play here, though we need to see another turn out of... Oh.
Holding A furiously. Oh no.
That hurts. That hurts. Did save. But, yeah, that spot doesn't have a lot of HP. Has a bit
That's
more than
enough.
380.
Is enough. How many flames does it take to get to the center of CPU and tower key? More than one, apparently.
And Edge did not, and Tower Key did not have what we needed, so Harumph is down to Feymarch. No further key item found there. Harumph needs to go and take out either the Alt Gauntlet or the Calbrina dolls. And I'm going to take a wild guess that they're going to go for the Calbrina dolls first.
Yeah, I was curious. I thought I had seen a Soma drop in one of their inventories. They might have sold it, but I thought Jeebus might have gone, immediately down there had he given Tella that extra 10 MP, because at least by my calculations, one media would probably get you straight through that.
You could be thinking, one media would probably get me through it, but they're going to punch like 60 times while telecast it. So they just decided, now let's Quake on Palom should be enough. The worst thing that comes to that is you can go and bluff with Palom a few times and he'll go and really have enough magic power. I think this spot only has... I'd have to go and consult a spreadsheet to get the exact amount of HP, because one, HP is split between 6 dolls, and I think the back dolls have twice as much as the front dolls, so there's math there that I don't want to do. And then there's, if you kill off all of one type of doll, you get the big doll, which also has some portion of the HP. And yeah, that's another place that HP goes. So it's kind of hard to eyeball exactly how much health these dolls are going to have. But not too. The front doll is only taking 1,000 damage to go down. This might not be impossible to do.
And getting a little extra AoE damage on that virus cast, but we're about to play the game. Will one Quake take down all of these dolls?
It will not. So this is things just got a little scary for Harumph, because he's very likely to get the big doll.
Yep, this is the little dolls run away, and their giant doll older brother shows up. Unless this Titan cast takes it out, I didn't think that would go off.
Apparently, Foot of the Land goes and takes the dolls out, and we've got 2 choices left for where our darkness is. We've got... So, the obvious the guaranteed location to check is this Alt Gauntlet right in front of you. The Alt Gauntlet is based on the Fabul Gauntlet, where in the vanilla game, the part of the Fabul defense, the Baron army is attacking, and you have to go through 3 fights of 2 soldiers and 1 officer, 2 fights of a few monsters, and 1 fight with just a flying gargoyle. In the Alt Gauntlet, we decide, well, it makes no sense for Baron to be attacking this land of summoned monsters. Let's just go and make it a gauntlet of 5 random fights from around the area. So,
these aren't going to be free by any means, but there are, I believe, 3 maybe even 4 places we have access to where our hide-and-go-seek champion could be.
Yes, we have. Alright. The 4 locations we have, the 4 boss locations we have not seen. The Rubicon spot, which is opened by the hook. The King Queen Evelyn spot, which is also opened by the hook, but requires you to walk all the way down to the very base of Upper Babel to see the fight. We have the Dmist, the Vanilla Dmist Cave, where that's where the vanilla spot is. You just go slightly north from Baron, land your airship, walk in the cave, and hey, there's a Dmist. And the final spot is at the Mega Sisters of the Tower of Zot. Free Enterprise, Tower of Zot does not require you to have the Earth Crystal to enter, it merely requires you to have the Earth Crystal to complete. So you can go to the Tower of Zot, walk all the way up that tower, fight the first boss in there even.
Well, your calculations were maybe accurate. We did see the Rubicon spot.
Right.
It was a Valvalis, but there was a specific item that burns down a specific village.
Oh, right.
That pan turn in, and there's a specific key that opens up a specific, very long dungeon to walk down that we've already stolen the key item from, that we also have access to.
I'm glad you're paying attention to this too, because I don't want to think about either of that. That's right, 2 things I missed. The package, where in the vanilla game you get tricked into burning down the village of Mist and decide, I'm really not okay being on Team Evil. Let's go and try and be on Team Not Evil, and end up fighting some more Baron guards in the Kaito Inn after you rescue Rydia, which is where one boss spot is, and the other boss spot, well, that warp glitch we just did, where you go and say, no. I'm not actually going to go and do Sealed Cave. To forget that. That place is miserable. It's long. You can't exit out. You have to walk through so many screens. And there's a kind of annoying boss there at the end, too, so let's never go there, right? Well, when you get the key item, and then after you get the key item, you walk out that door and get a fight, you can have Dmist in that spot.
This is why these types of objectives with our favorite Scala Kitty rolling the seed by no means means you got a jet seed. It by no means means that you're just gonna, take your D machine grind, get all your levels, and be ready to go 22 minutes in. We are down to last location, and this by no means could be darkness. This could be its own chain leading to darkness, or darkness could have just been sitting in any of those Dmist potential spots that you just mentioned.
Yep. And it could be both. It could be, Dmist. This is not a situation I like to see for harumph.
No, this is tough. Harumph had to take a reset, went for the float strats, but I believe the float must have worn off. I'm not super familiar with how long float stays. Maybe you can educate us on that.
Float goes and gets taken off every time you change floors. And harumph just exiting. Is harumph going to go and do a Dmist check? I believe harumph is going to go and do a Dmist check.
There is so much going on in your stomach when you realize that you haven't been to vanilla Dmist after clearing out all of these checks, but you can't know that your opponent hasn't done it yet. So you don't realize that if Dmist is here, you're ahead. If you find this, you're thinking, "This is it. I've lost. I'm done."
Oh, and harumph might be looking for hourglasses because he knows that there's a gated shop that he didn't check, and part of my language, these fights suck. I don't want to do them fairly. Let's go and find a different way.
No, you don't want to do this. And this is this issue with holding off on doing your grind because you're hoping, be able to get that early D machine. Is here you are. There will be coffins, there will be Bacchus, but now you got to go through something that requires pretty decent levels, and you gave up an edge. This is the double-edged blade of getting rid of a second edge.
Speaking of double-edged decisions, Jeebus is now climbing all the way up to the top of the tower to go and do the fight that he skipped because he's discovered, Dwarf Castle didn't have it. Tower Key didn't have it. Top of Tower have it. I don't want to go and do the actual Fameward stuff. Let's go and see if Top of Tower has it.
And just to note, also turn down the edge, so the party comp is going to remain very similar between our two runners.
Yep, and equipping that Murasame, and then equipping a Ice Claw because he believes this is Rubicant and not Elements.
Still probably gonna do a decent amount of damage. That Murasame must maybe have come from that trap chest.
It came from the Tower Key.
Oh. Well, there's some value for you. Scala gives away just little pieces of value with each of your key item checks.
Yes, that's going and putting on the Thunderclaw here and gonna go get ready to go to town. Fun fact about elements. Myland Phases absorbs Holy, because that is what the Meteor spell does. The Rubicant Phase absorbs Fire, which the Myland Phase is weak to. The Kanizo Phase absorbs Water, which is what the Rubicant Phase is weak to. Vavel's Phase, weak to Thunder, which is what the Kanizo Phase is weak to. So when you have a Thunderclaw on, you're going to go and be doing quadruple damage for the rest of the fight once you get to Kanizo Phase.
Yep, and there are situations where if you have to do physical damage to the elements, you might want to leave that Ice Claw on just because this Rubicante phase is potentially the most dangerous. Because of that risk, there's a Fire 2 and then a Fire 3 cast, and then a group Glare cast. But fortunately, Top of Tower is very similar to the Golbez spot in Dwarf in that this is just laughable damage.
Yeah, it's really hard to go and feel incredibly threatened when you see 4, fire 3s hitting your 4 party members for not even 200 damage each, and there's the Kniza phase. I believe we're going to go and see a lot of damage start coming out of Edge.
Yep, you can basically put the controller down here and just wait until they go down.
Yes, the Kniza phase said, nope, tag, you're out. Val, you do it. You're the Thunder one.
That hurt. Someone else get in the game. I want to do this.
And Val forgets to turn off their Thunder weakness, so Val just goes and gets shocked by the amount of damage they start taking.
I was never sure what Val's weaknesses were specifically. I just know that almost no matter what I have equipped, Val seems to just take ridiculous quantities of damage from physical attacks, which always seem counter to, it being Valvalis.
Yes. And, Jeebus is discovering it's a Pinktail and is now walking out of this tower because, hey, our runners are at a magical number of 9 key items. When they get 10, they're going to be getting double experience.
Walking out the Pinktail is an interesting play, given your party comp. I guess maybe, there's Stardust Rods, there's White Shirts, but you can reset out of this check. And, you're going to have to get a 9th key item at some point here.
Right, but they're at 9 now. 10. There's no bonus for having 9 key items. You're going to go get your bonus for 10, and as they are now, they're guaranteed to have 10 key items so they can go to the moon. Jeebus does have 2 Sirens. I don't know if he's going to be using any to take out the Feymarch bosses, but now Jeebus is going and doing their own checks. Is it vanilla?
Yeah, this is when you're you have that whole walk down that tower to figure out what you think you did wrong. And this is when you're like, did I make that check? I've even run races, specifically, tournament races, where I'll go back and just double check because I can't remember if I did check. And this is about the position that you're in right now. You're like, do I really have to go down to the Feymarch and do this fight?
And harumph making good use of coffins to just say, no, Conjurer, you do not get to go and kill me today. We're going to go and do a few life glitches and take some extra experience off you, but please, no, we're not doing this again.
Yep, and this Dolls fight, as long as Jeebus gets through this Dolls fight with relatively efficient speed, harumph making all those bonus checks is definitely caught Jeebus up some of the way that I would say that he was behind, say, at the beginning of getting underground.
Yep, and I believe I know which. This is the legendary Clapper grind. I don't think Clappers are. You can't go and use coffins on Clappers. A lot of enemies are immune to instant death, but harumph does go and have a backup option for that is easy to overlook because everyone likes to go and pretend he's not useful.
Are you talking about that one spell that we keep Tella around for?
Hey, now, there's a lot of spells I keep Tella around for. I will absolutely take Tella over Form for specific reasons.
Well, okay, if we're comparing Tella to Form, I will maybe give you that one. But I'm not sure Cure 4 was the spell you were thinking of.
No. Clappers... So, you can have... Enemies in this game can have immunities to instant death, but unless they have the boss bit, they are not immune to the weak spell, which doesn't kill you, just sets you down to a single-digit HP. And casting that will go and save you. Jeebus going and setting up for the fights as well, casting Float on his team. Float will reset between floors, but even if you die and revive yourself, you will still go and keep that float status, which is very helpful sometimes.
Yep, and this is an admission that you know the direction the seed is going. If you're setting up to do your Alt Gauntlet fight before you even finish the Dolls fight,
it's
you're like, well, okay, it's probably going to be Alt Gauntlet, but I might as well do the Dolls first.
He did kill off Tella in that first fight, so definitely wants at least to be prepared for that situation.
We might see the same
Ooh.
Oh,
that's not great. So
no, sir, we didn't see you playing with your dolls again, sir.
yeah, so Calbrina is actually a much different boss because it actually hits hard and is mean and does things like plants, and in general, you never want to see this doll. Another thing that has a big difference, Rydia's cast time on Titan is a lot longer than Palom's cast time on Quake. So something that helped out Jeebus, or Harumph, excuse me, was that when Harumph was doing this fight, they, oh, speaking of Harumph, I just saw what happened to them.
Yep, those two clappers. Yeah, I was going to say earlier, the clapper grind. There's a reason you don't see people try to manip to get a clapper, summoner, conjurer, whatever it is, because those clappers have a lot of health, and they don't give that much experience, and they do not play around. It's, you know, it's like a gold dragon where you don't have an hourglass. It's not fun.
Yeah, the Blitz skill is a lightning-based attack that hits for half of your health. They are dragon enemies. They are immune to a number of things, including instant death. Not weak, but also things like the different polymorph spells and hold, if I'm not mistaken. They are very hard to go and lock down without hourglasses, and not just instantly blitzing them down with something like Artemis arrows or Dragoon spears. Those things are not a fight I ever want to take.
But I will say, I know Jeebus well enough to know that he knows what encounters you're going to be seeing here. So you can tell he is going to be zerking his Rosa with those arty arrows pretty consistently through these fights that we see coming up.
Yes, Jeebus definitely seems to go and have a very good setup for this. Another thing I'm noticing, Jeebus is throwing Drain Spears. Drain Spears were for sale in that Eblin Cave shop. They were sell for 6,000 gold apiece. They are an absolutely awful weapon to ever use on Kain because he has minus 10 stats, has a total of 22% accuracy, but it's got real good attack power, and accuracy doesn't matter when you're using throw.
Yep. We first saw, actually, one of your opponents, Penguinator, made this play in one of the Restreamed races, bought a whole stack of Drain Spears, and they don't cost that much to buy compared to, because the damage you're getting out of them is more than you would get from one of those Ninja Stars that cost Lord knows how much more.
Yeah, the Ninja Stars, they sell for like 25 or 35,000 gold. It is something silly. It is something that you just know. If I'm throwing this, I'm throwing it because I'm desperate, not because I really think this is a worthwhile use of this item. But yes,
and they are sitting on a spoon as well, which I'm excited to see when we get the spoon toss.
Spoon is really that's really rude to go and use because you never want to use it because it's so easy to get that to max damage. But when you use it, sometimes it can really go and be a big change in the fight, because doing 10,000 damage to something, alright, not guaranteed, but level attack power 255 times Edge's level, so if Edge is around level 40, you're guaranteed to be doing max damage. And Rosa with a quad 9 Artemis shot. Yeah, Rosa, Artemis arrows are going to go and do a lot of work this season. Not even pretending that Edge has any job of doing damage in this fight. No, Edge's job in this fight is to go and keep Rosa alive.
Yep, Edge has some great swords, has some weapons, has some things of use, but can't equip that bow and cannot quad 9 clappers.
Turns out, being able to exploit dragon weakness against clappers, very helpful. Rosa...
Yep, it's a huge get right here for Jeebus, but we'll have to see what we get.
Scala, you're my favorite.
Oh, the value. Now, I mean, it's quite clear that what happened is everyone noticed that you have Rydia, and Rydia doesn't have a great summon yet, so you don't want to go to the moon until you have Bahamut or Leviathan.
Oh.
And we just have a who's kit of the worst Dmist checks that you can be forced to make in the game as well.
And I think Jeebus is forgetting one of the worst ones. The oh goodness gracious, Mega Sisters. Jeebus is double checking the spot, I believe, right?
No,
Jeebus
I think this is the package check. This is the beauty of all of these checks is you can't get a key item from any of these checks. So there's no routing it in and saying, well, if I run into them, I run into them. All of these checks you're making will not reward you anything if you don't get Dmist. Package, maybe you get a character, but you're literally, there's nothing you're benefiting from this if you miss. It's not like, oh, I'll do Baron and there'll be some bosses there and I'll get a key item maybe. There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. And this is all that exists.
Yes, to explain what's going on, normally there are fixed locations, like the bosses that we fought, that will go and give a key item. There is one wildcard key item in Free Enterprise. That is Dmist. Dmist can show up in pretty much any boss location, and once you defeat Dmist, you go back to Mist Village, talk to Rita's mom in the village, and she will give you a key item. We are now checking boss spots that we have had no reason to go and check for any reason whatsoever. Jeebus is going up the Tower of Zot and is going to be seeing what the boss is here. You can't complete the Tower of Zot without the Earth Crystal. There is no reason to ever come here unless you're checking for a specific boss.
Oh, are you still going to do a D machine when you get the Darkness Crystal, Baka?
You know, I think I'm going to go and just use weak on gold dragons at this point. Now.
This is absolutely glorious. So the other thing that's worth noting is not only are the remaining places you can look for Dmist just the slowest, least rewarding checks in the game, but there's no guarantee that this strange woman lying next to the pond is actually going to have the Darkness Crystal.
No, they can go and give the Twin Harp, the Earth Crystal, or the Baron Key, and then you can complete one of those to get the Darkness Crystal. Or get the Twin Harp, to get the Baron Key, to get the Earth Crystal, to then get the Darkness Crystal.
Yep, there's could be chains on chains. This is just a glorious situation. I've seen Dmist at package in a race that I was watching, but I've never seen a Dmist gating actual progression after completing. How many checks have we done? 11, 12 checks at this point?
Oh, goodness. We've done... All right, let's just count through them. Antline. Kabul Defense. Sheila, after talking to Young in the Underground. Sylphs hitting Young with the pan. Returning the pan to Sheila. Mount Ordeals. Baron Inn. Tower Cannon Room. Top of Tower. Dwarf Castle. Warp glitching Dwarf Castle to Luca Cave. The 2 Fame Arch bosses, so that's 14 checks, I believe? That's 14 just key item checks, excuse me. Boss check as well. Oh my goodness.
2 more boss spots on top of that. Vanilla boss checks. And
another boss, because there's a boss check. Well, okay, right. There's only... We still skip...
Yeah, Zot boss check.
Vanilla boss. So we got
Spoonward. I thought he was doing it because he really wanted that Eddie.
Oh yeah, that's apparently Jeebus is not that big of a fan of Edward. So now we're going to Luca Key, because Dwarf Glitch. You can go and bypass the entire sealed cave, skipping the boss. If the boss is Dmist, guess what you're not skipping on this hunt? There is one more location that we can go and get, and it can be at the King Queen Evelyn spot on the hook route, because you see Valvalis is in the Rubicon spot today. We don't see anywhere who the boss is in the King Queen Evelyn spot until you start the fight.
And now, so you're nervous. You're like, I've last locationed everything. I'm last locationing this check here at the Gauntlet. Now you have the potential to last location Dmist as well after running up Tower of Zot, doing package, and diving down Luca Cave. The nerves mixed with pure frustration have to be just an amazing jumble of nonsense going through your head right now.
I'm going to be honest. The Dmist hunt would make me feel better because it would mean that all of my other checks, my opponent was, unless they are extremely gambly and just love to go and take wild gambles, they are not going to touch this in the slightest. These going out of your way this much is an awful play as a just, I'm going to randomly do this thing.
Oh, I'm more saying, what if my opponent chose King Queen Evelyn first now? You know, because that whole time you're like, wait, that wasn't darkness? You spent that whole time sweating that you faded that all gauntlet to last to realize that now you're fading, you know, everything else to last. We found it. We have found it. I wouldn't be surprised to see that spoon go just as a frustration. I don't want to deal with this fight.
Yeah, no, that's, I mean, the spoon is... So here's another thing about Dmist. Dmist is a really obnoxious boss because Dmist is the first boss in the game. It's going to show you off the ATB script and show off counterattack system in the game. So it's going to hit you 3 times, it's going to turn into mist, and then every time you go and hit it while it's mist, it's going to go and do a counterattack of a cold. Like we're going to get right now because Rosa is berserk and Dmist is not dead.
You were on tilt when you throw that spoon and you zerk up Rosa, and if there's something that's going to put you further on tilt, it's having no way of stopping Rosa from proccing this cold mist.
Oh, I think... Did Jeebus just go and purposely attack with Edward? Because
I saw that.
Alright, so there's something that I would do here that I would just accept. Oh, he attacked Rosa. I would throw a coffin on Rosa, because that would go... That's guaranteed to just take her out. Unless Rosa doesn't have a ribbon, correct?
It's hard to say. I mean, she's taking 1 from the cold mist, but that could be just about anything in this situation. Oh, she does not want to go down.
Hers is like, no!
On, let me keep fighting.
Don't you dare kick me out of this fight!
And Baka, you recall, I was saying the last seed that the two of us called involved, it required Dmist at CPU. The one runner found and the other didn't, and now here we are with a required Dmist at a warp glitch Luca cave.
Are you implying that we are somehow cursing runners?
I'm implying that when we team up, the audience is in for quite the show.
I'm sure. And now let's see how much of a show we have, because Jeebus is going to get a 10th key item. Let's see if it's a 10th key item in the form of the Darkness Crystal, or you still get to do more checks on Earth.
Oh, you gotta run this all the way back, and then, yep, the strange woman lying next to the pond is determining whether you actually get to go do something that is going to check something off of this box, or are you about to just keep running around senselessly?
What's really bitter about this is if it's Baron Castle and the throne gives the adamant, or rather than the Darkness Crystal, you have to go and beat the Odin throne. So you just have the, hey, here, you'll go and complete one of your objectives with this. It's only been an hour since your last one, right?
Yeah. That number 4 is just getting very lonely and eliminating all of the other objectives by proxy.
They say that 1 is the loneliest number. Not today. 4 is the bright spot on this seed, and it's not feeling too, it's feeling pretty alone right now.
And Harumph, I agree with this play. Harumph has decided I don't think that doing a D machine grind is going to be in my future. Stole a good amount of sirens, is now leveling up, which will be helpful one way or the other. Although, as you've mentioned, when they picked up that pink tail, they got 9 key items. So now you're at 9 key items. Oh, come on. All right. So that is go mode for Jeebus, but it could have been worse. If anything, you're at least relieved that now you don't have to go to Twin Harp or anything along those lines.
Yeah, Jeebus is going and he's going to pick up his hovercraft and turn his pink tail to see what item he's getting. Do you make any changes to your party if you're Jeebus?
If I'm Jeebus, my one thought right now is, do I have to go steal sirens?
He has 1. he has to do encounters on the moon with 10 key items. He's got a Dragoon Spear. If there's a cane on the moon, I think that's a pretty safe pickup because, hi, I would like to go and kill gold dragons on the moon in like 2 swings.
Yep. I'm just my curiosity is we haven't seen hourglasses, we haven't seen sirens, and the only shop we haven't seen is that moon shop. So do you go up, check the moon shop? I mean, you're gonna get 200,000 XP from the ribbon spot. You'll get 80,000 or so from a Bahamut. Is that going to be enough to tip you over? Will that one extra golden dragon be enough to put you where you're at? Because you have an edge. Really, is your only physical damage dealer, unless you want to zerk up your white mage.
Yeah, that's a fair point. You do need Rydia needs 1 million experience to learn Nuke, which, if you're taking Rydia into the Zeromus fight for Reflect Strats, she needs to have Nuke. Hallam only takes 900,000, so clearing the entire Earth, granted without 10 key items, because the seed enjoys going and laughing at you.
Even you with 9.
Yes. Let's just appreciate there are exactly 10 key items directly on Earth, not gated by the moon at all. With the darkness being the 10th, after you go and clear literally everything, because naturally your worst check is going to be hunting Dmist.
Yeah, I think I'm in a position where I want to find a boss that I can hit pretty aggressively right about now.
Yeah. We do now have access to the last item shop of the game on the moon in the Hummingway shop, so maybe we're going to see sirens here. If not, that's an interesting question for grind. Nope. Silkwebs, however. Silkwebs are, yes, give me 3. I don't care how late it is, I want 3 of them.
Yeah, headed into the moon bosses as well. Silkwebs are definitely something you enjoy having. Yes, here we are wondering, how am I going to get enough XP to go through this Zeromus? We'll see what Rosa and Edge end up with. You might be doing essentially a 2-person Zeromus fight.
But is more experience available right here rather easily if you turn on encounters and hit those. Just turning encounters on right away. I was thinking of going and hunting down the behemoth fights here, because behemoths, they're pretty slow. They're you don't really fight fair. Like, they have agility value between 1 and 3. They are not going to be punching on their own very much. They do counterattack every single time you hit them, but you have plenty of time to throw up blinks and whatnot. So you can pretty safely go, get yourself set up, and then Zerk Edge to start tearing through them to get, at this point, 100,000 experience a pop. 100,000 experience here.
Sound too bad.
Yeah, you can get 300,000 experience here. You can go and get 60-ish thousand from the boss here. That goes and takes you closer to the 900,000 you need for Palom. And still kind of hard to go and get with Rydia, but it's definitely doable without having to go and get extra sirens. And Jeebus going and like glitching the Warlock to get even more experience. Just really taking all that he can, getting almost 100,000 off of that fight, so that is definitely going to go and help out. If Jeebus can go, you've got those behemoths I mentioned is 300,000. The ribbon spot is 200,000. If all of your party survives that, that's 500,000 experience. You've gotten a decent chunk. These warlocks were another almost 200,000. You have 1 siren, so you can go and find a 3 warlock fight and mute them, rather than using hourglasses to get things going. Jeebus can probably go and finagle his way up to 1 million experience for Rydia without a demishing grind.
Yeah, there are good choices for, particularly at 10 key items. I mean, the ribbon room's going to give you 200,000 to begin with, but I believe we're going to see Harumph make it through this clapper grind, having just grabbed sirens and gained those levels. Big question now for Harumph will be, what is your routing going to be as far as searching those 4 spots for Dmist?
Yes. If you just... My instinct is to go straight to Sealed Gate, because I am already underground. Also, we're discovering that clampers float, so you can't quake them. But,
Clappers are, the evil twin of the gold dragons, because they don't even, I mean, the amount of XP you get off of these is, negligible relative to their sibling, the gold dragons.
and compared to their difficulty, let's be honest, they cast Blitz. Blitz is rude. Hey now.
Dr. Luge, actually not terrible. Thunderclaw does damage to 2 of the 3 forms of Luge.
Yep. This is, there are far worse fights you don't have to deal with in the form of the Dr. Luge fight. And now Harumph is getting the bad news and is going to be wondering, either did I miss something, or I hate you, game. I don't want to. I hate that this Dmist has been open. And fun fact: the way to the moon has been open since you went and cleared Antlion Cave, your first objective. You didn't have to do anything else because that Luca key was in the chest in Baymarch. The free, unguarded chest that didn't require any fights and was not going to go and kill you in any way, shape, or form if you wish to go and just take it. The Dmist went in.
You'll be glad to be reminded of that at the end of this race.
Oh, I'm sure they're going to watch this back to see how badly did this go for me. And, yeah. Harumph is choosing not to go and check the Luca Cave like Jeebus did, and instead choosing to go and check overworld locations.
Yep, I said this before, but the first thing that's going through my mind is, am I sure I checked vanilla Dmist?
Yep. Harumph is choosing to start on package, and is going to see Edward, is going to see cutscenes. Meanwhile, Jeebus getting Berserk off on Edge for his second phase of the Dr. Luge fight, so that is really nice. One of the things that's really annoying about Dr. Luge is that poison he applies, it's not the damage or the status effect that does it, or the awful screeching sound of walking when you have poison. No, it's the fact that it prevents you from being berserked because of a little glitch called the status hierarchy. And we find the rat tail.
The doctor definitely leaves you with a little baggage at the end of the fight.
He's supposed to make you feel better, but usually when I come out of these fights, I'm feeling a lot worse about how everything's going.
Yep, that running with it is something that you'll see a lot of people just stubbornly tolerate. And in this position, ain't nobody got time to heal up.
There is no time to go and rest. Actually, no, this is reasonable to go and rest because losing all of your HP before you get down to the bottom is going to waste time. And there is something to be said about actually being able to see where you're going.
Yeah. The rest here is good. Get your MP back, because once you drop Pella, assuming we're gonna see the Siren be used on some fight, you want to be able to just tent up and not have to worry about running out of MP. Or who would you be looking for in this ribbon room spot? Considering we have one boss left, really, between Jeebus at least and Go Mode.
Not Yang. Kane I would consider because of that Dragoon Lamp. This stage, yeah, you could go and take Yang. He's not going to... Yeah. The amount of experience it would take to get Yang up, he will get double experience while he's 5 levels behind the median, but Yang really needs to be level 45 to 50 at least. Good damage. And if you're going to get your characters up to level 45 or 50, I'd rather just go and get level 45 or 50 on the Black Mages who will learn that lovely nuke spell and absolutely decimate Zeromus because you can use the reflex strats.
Yep. So EXP is going to be a relatively interesting question. I mean, with those Arty arrows, with that Rosa, even random encounters, you'll do okay with. And that 200k XP is going to get you close, but this is one of those things with having kept that Rydia that whole seed, expecting, maybe that early D machine is now, you need a lot to get up to that threshold that you want to run into that Zeromus fight feeling confidently for reflex spells.
Yeah, to be fair, I think the only other character that would be tempting to have taken at this point is the Edge we saw in Dwarf Castle, perhaps. Maybe keeping a second Rosa I don't feel is going to be that great just because second Rosa, 2 nukes is much better than 2 whites. 2 whites can go and have a Z fight go off the rails because of how long it takes for white to cast. So that is not my preference. I would rather take Rydia and get her up to nuke levels and get 2 roses to white because my Z fight is going to be so much smoother with double nuke.
Yeah, and well, with 1 Rosa, you certainly aren't going to have an interest in using Rosa as a Zerker. So we might see some sort of hybrid strat here with just maybe some level 3 spells from those 2 kids. But yeah, that second edge is looking relatively good right about now, knowing the position that you're in.
To be fair, did we find any edge weapons for sale? We found a Masamune and we found a ninja sword. But did we find a way to get more of them?
It's a good question. I think because they found them, there wasn't an emphasis on keeping an eye on the shops. But it's also possible that you would be stuck with a base equipment edge.
Yeah, and that's not really something you like. You can go and find longswords in the overworld, which is an acceptable weapon for the end game, but you really want something like ninja swords, or better yet, a ninja sword and a Masamune or Murasame, because that's a lot of damage.
Yep, this Asura fight, while not the trolliest of fights to find in the Riven Room, is kind of entertaining just because, right now your thought process is go, go, go as fast as possible, and the Asura fight really does not give you the option to just go, go, go. You gotta get set up, you got 1 person hitting with damage, you gotta be patient on this fight if you want to get through it.
What's interesting is, Rosa is definitely going and showing off that, yes, just blink everyone up and do a bunch of damage. There is a second way of dealing with this fight, which goes and reduces the amount of blinks you have to cast in the form of, well, as I said, reflect strats are not just for Zeromus. If you reflect spells at Asura, the only way she hurts you is with a counterattack from punching her. Reflect spells, no counterattack, no punches. You can do that very safely without any reflects. You just keep a wall up on her, which you're already reflecting your spells. That doesn't go and cost anything to you.
That's fair. That is one of the strats that I will say never crosses my mind. I think I saw it in a community race once, and I thought, that's a good idea, and then I forgot about it until right now.
It's a lot easier to think of as like, I have 2 people in my party who can cast nuke. Let's go and use them to cast nuke. I don't want to go and have Bashura, full healing herself though, so let's put wall on her. Well, if she's got wall on her, I need to go and have wall on one of my characters to bounce it back.
Very true. We are seeing harumph having conquered the gauntlet, having made it through the checks of the package and the Tower of Zot, now discovering, and it looks like also going, oh no, that's a blink. I thought they were going to go for that Zerk strat as well. Maybe taking a more slow, comfortable approach on this.
I think, does harumph have a curse string? Because that Dmist is looking real fast.
I was wondering that as well. That did go real fast, and that Tella was alive for a majority of those eggs.
Yeah, Tella has a lot of HP for Tella in general.
For Tella.
Ooh.
We are in go mode here. I know Jeebus quite well. We've had a lot of private discussions about strategies or low-ish levels on Zeromus.
Yeah,
we're seeing some. This is an interesting setup.
We're seeing Zerker Rydia on the team because, well, you got a Heroine Robe, you've got a Artemis Bow, you have Artemis Arrows. Rose is great for using that, but Rydia can also use it, and unless you want to go and get that 1 million experience total on Rydia, she's not going to be able to do much else in the Z fight, to be entirely honest. Reflect strats with non-nuke spells are very painful, so that's
I'm sorry to interrupt, but there's these flags with, it looks like a sideways N with a question mark on it. I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe you can answer that.
It's because we entered the no reset zone. You need to go make sure you know where to reset in this game. No, we are getting close to the final fight of the game, Zeromus, the final boss of Final Fantasy IV. We randomize every other boss, but this guy, we don't like letting him out of this little prison, really, to be entirely honest. So we keep him here. But it's a randomizer. We can't go and keep him vanilla. We need to go and do something with him. So we like to change up something with him. So get your Z flags out in chat as we find out whose butt we're kicking tonight.
There it is. That's what it is.
And, I think
a fascinating setup for Zeromus. I just have to throw that in.
Yeah, I don't think Jeebus is expecting Rydia to survive very long in this fight, just because Nerf Big Bang she's probably going to survive, and then the unnerfed Big Bang is going to go and do about several 100,000 damage. Oh, and I like this setup.
I was just about to say he's doing. This is something I believe he developed himself. You can queue up 2 Zerks before the transformation if you have a Tela anchoring your party, which is a very unique strat that Jeebus has found.
Yeah, that I like. That is definitely clever. We're getting Zeromus. Not a game I personally have played, but a game that has enough love that I know of it. Rydia pulling up 2,000 damage with an Artemis Bow Heroine Robe at level 45. I am not going to go and be upset at that damage, I think. Rosa taking the direct nuke and going down. Jeebus knowing...
They actually play in Jeebus' favor as opposed to... Well, a Cure 4 would have gone off as well. But if Rydia goes down, you have the potential of losing that arrow.
I don't think Rydia's coming back up if she goes down, to be entirely honest.
Yeah, that's not up high on my list of priorities, but Bill gets damage off. Oof.
I think Jeebus is going to be playing on the Edge and Rosa show. Meanwhile, Harumph has found their Darkness Crystal. Going to be hard to catch up from here, but this definitely lost a lot of time to the alt gauntlet and needed to go and do more grinding than Jeebus did. And their anchor is definitely in a less positive situation.
Yeah, there's a slight benefit to having done that grinding, but at the same time, the wipes to that alt gauntlet, which is of all the places to run into an alt gauntlet, that and that setup of bosses is just terrifying. And I'm glad I got to watch that because I will have a much better picture in my head of what I'm going up against when I see alt gauntlet there.
Yeah, when I see alt gauntlet there, the answer is you want to have 3 sirens up, or 3 coffins in your inventory that you get off on the first turn to kill the conjurer ASAP.
Yeah, my other thought's going to be, I'm going to go check Luca K for Dmist.
Never alt gauntlet, never Fey March. It looks like Harumph is going and just going to grind straight up. Definitely has some agility issues because Rosa is the one getting the first turn, even though Palom is the character alive in the highest priority slot. That is, that's going to be a scary Zeromus fight.
Now, this is where things will get a little hairy in this fight, is nerfing these big bangs. If it hits Tela, like you said, I don't think you mind Tela taking a nap. I don't think you mind Rydia taking a nap. But Zeromus, all forms of Zeromus have a pretty good eye for who you don't want to get hit.
Yeah, Zeromus is really picking on Rosa right now. I don't think it's appreciated.
Not at all, and that might have actually been the health refill shake.
That looks like it. Yeah, we had a shake and no big bang. What this is... so Zeromus has 100,000 HP. Kinda. He can't actually have 100,000 HP because the game's integer values don't quite go up that high. So he has 61,000 HP total that he refills at a certain point in the fight after you've done 42,000 damage. Or is it 45,000? I always forget to flip that around. But
Some
doing
there.
doing 40,000 plus, he will go and refill his HP, and that resets his script. It's obvious when he shakes, gets ready to cast a Big Bang, but doesn't actually cast a Big Bang, or he casts a Big Bang but doesn't do a black hole afterwards. This is this is something where we're in a bit of a scary phase, as there's 2 characters alive right now, and Zeromus in phase 2 starts throwing out random nukes after these black holes.
Yeah, this could give harumph a potential chance to catch up. I will be. Ooh, that's targeted edge. I'm gonna have to ask. Oh, this is probably a good play. You do get, after that nuke, you do get a quick hot second. The game expects that you might be reeling and need to get reset up, so you can get a few more inputs off here than in the phases without the nuke. I was going to say, jeebus0 at one point told me you should never cast Life 2 after the first Big Bang, and I was wondering if he was interested in breaking that rule.
Yeah, that's something that's very easy to go and say I want to do, because yeah, it gets your characters up to full health, but it takes longer to cast, and every turn matters in this fight.
And you'll see that wall that's being cast on edge that was intended to reflect a potential nuke. You're going for a nerf. The nerf isn't there. There's one chance here, and that's tipping and dodging a meteor. You might have just seen the tip there.
And we don't see the... Oh, that's heartbreaking. Zeromus' final phase at 12,000 HP is casting Meteor. It is a single roll of the spell, so it is not impossible to dodge. It is actually reasonably likely for high magic evade characters. Edge is not one of those characters. Jeebus now has to go back through that entire grueling fight again.
Yep. If you're Jeebus and you were sweating that first Zeromus fight, the buckets are coming down. I've been in this position, and when you run in the second time and there still hasn't been a dot done, you're thinking, here's now the dot done's going to come in. It does have enough time, take a deep breath, get into it. You were very, very close there. That was maybe just some unfortunate timing. Had he gotten the nerf off on that Big Bang, that would have been enough to win that fight. That was the entire difference, that last Big Bang.
Yes, that Big Bang into Meteor is devastating.
Or even, I mean, Rosa has a tiara on. I was amazed. That felt like high damage on the Rosa as well.
Yeah, that's Rosa probably missed some of her rolls. She's also only at 1900 HP. She has a tiara, but I don't think she has much other good mage gear at this point. Maybe a wizard robe?
The tiara is really the only thing I recall. You might be right with the wizard robe, but no rune rings, no life staffs, anything like that would add to those stats.
Yeah, that's a sorcerer robe would definitely be a very nice piece of equipment to have, because that has high magic evade and gives +10 to both casting stats. I believe it's every 16. I can't remember this. I feel like I should remember this. I think it's 16 combined of every casting stat for a magic evade. No, excuse me. It's 32 combined of every. Yeah, combined of each magic stat. Wisdom and willpower gives you a magic evade multiplier, which I'm not saying with enough confidence for me to go and say. So, pardon me while I go and look this up.
Go ahead. While Jeeves getting back into this fight, we have harumph headed to the moon to complete those 2 final objectives. Big shout outs to RPG Limit Break for letting us use this channel for our tournament. Asuka 424 has been pushing the buttons, all of the different buttons, up until we finally found that Dmist. They weren't very valuable button pushes, but now we got 2, 3, and 4, so we're through it there. So big ups to Asuka, big ups to RPG Limit Break, and a big ups to Scala Kitty, our restreamer, and the creator of this Zeromus sprite, as well as a majority of the other sprites that terrify and destroy our various runners throughout all the tournaments and going forward. Oh, ground flyer, I agree. There were plenty of buttons to push. There were 9 buttons to push before we finally found the correct button that was going to lead them there. But these were, given that there was only one, the Darkness Crystal was the only one that needed to be pushed to be able to push the crystal button. This was a very, very entertaining seed in that regard.
Yeah, this seed loved trolling our runners. It loved going and seeming like it's just straightforward. It's a hunt for the Darkness Crystal. You have to go through all the key. No, you don't. You don't have to go through all the key spots. You're going to, but you didn't have to.
Yep, we started by talking about, looking for that D machine, looking for that early darkness, being able to go right into that D machine with the Tela, and then cut to an hour later, and we're wondering where Dmist is amongst all of the checks that you would only ever make if you're hunting a Dmist.
That's the required Dmist means you do every check because it is never an optimal check to go anywhere near those boss fights that we did today, unless you have to find Dmist. Scala, I love your seeds.
Yep, the minute that I saw our Scala was our Restreamer, I was certain we were going to end up with another. It was Scala. You were on comms with me, Baka. I knew Asuka had ruled what is going down as one of the better seeds, so that's always good bonus energy to have with you. And given that the last seed the two of us called was a hidden required Dmist, all of the fates aligned, the planets aligned, and gave us just another glorious situation to get to watch.
Oh yeah, this is. Free Enterprise is fun when it's brutal. It's not so fun when, in the moment when it's brutal, but you look back on those with fondness. Like, you look back on other serious trials and things that you may not have been laughing at the time.
Oh, yeah. Well, someone in chat, Dark Jonas, had been bringing up the German term Schadenfreude, which is happiness at the misfortune of others. And this seed has really embodied Schadenfreude.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this has definitely been a lot of Schadenfreude. This is something that you look at and you're glad it's not you.
So that's the second Big Bang has been nerfed here for Jeebus. Set up relatively well. Does have that protective Star Veil on the Rosa. That will go down. And these are testy Zeromus fights because of these nukes.
Yeah, these having bodies up to go and just absorb a nuke is very important, but when you get down to those late turns when you're not getting very far, you need to go and have Rosa healing to get you back up from the Big Bang. Oh, that is never good. Rosa, it's really bad when Rosa needs to go into two things: heal and berserk. Fortunately, the Bacchus Wines are taking off that pressure to berserk, but this is a scary fight.
Yeah, and the issue being that your last wipe came because you had your Rosa take a wipe to an unnerfed Big Bang, taking that time to get that edge back zerked makes it very difficult to catch up and be correctly in time for, nerfing another Big Bang, which at this point you're feeling is absolutely required.
Yeah, it's... Big Bangs can top out at 2400 or 2700 because the... So how nerfing works is that when Zeromus casts Nuke, Zeromus reduces their magic power, because if they didn't, it would just always wipe out one of your characters. It would do 3,000 to 4,000 damage at least, I think. So it lowers his magic power to at least not be completely stomping into the dirt. Here comes a Meteor. We see Edge. Rosa did not take a hit, is alive, Edge is alive, and is berserk. We're in good position. This is looking good for Jeebus. He's got the heal off.
Brock's falling for Jeebus. That counter nuke on that nerf hit star build or the wall that was on that edge, which definitely ideal.
Both characters getting hit in dangerous territory, but Jeebus is feeling confident and has done it. Jeebus has finished in first place in this race. He's the one who's got the shot at 3-0 right now. Harumph unfortunately lost too much time to that alt gauntlet. Zeromus goes down. GG's to Jeebus. Let's see if we can go and get him in for an interview.
And I believe we are joined by Jeebus. GG.
Thank you. That was an amazing scene.
How did you feel? And of course I'm going to kick you at your lowest moment, I'm sorry. How did you feel when you cleared all the key item spots on Earth and did not have a darkness crystal?
Okay, it's very dangerous to be in that position, thinking, alright, where's the Dmist? And how long have I had that package? And is my opponent actually crazy enough to go up like seal the cave and check the package Dmist? Knowing that there are other open key item checks to make. And you just don't know where you are anymore.
And what about this? This is your strategy, and I don't really agree with it. But fading Antlion until the last check before diving underground. What was that?
I forgot about that line.
The required Antlion?
I forgot about it. You know,
It was one of your
edge. When you get the edge and you have the Tala, and then you go up ordeals, and then you're like, oh, all right, and oh, I have edge. I have a fully powered Tala. I can do Baron in. Let's go do that. And then you get the hook, and you're like, okay, better bring that over there. There's some shops, and I haven't had any treasure, like really good treasure this seed, which is, by the way, low-key one of the better trolls of the seed. There's just nothing in the waterfall, in the watery pass. And then, yeah. As I was looting Dwarf Castle, I was thinking to myself, wait a minute. Did I do Antlion? That was an objective. I should probably at least go and do that.
Well, glad you remembered, because I imagine that would have been a very different race if you went in through the hook path and found Valvalis there.
Oh yes, so Valvalis cannot block the only access to the underground, so
well, you
I
know
have
who
gone
you
all
got
the way
your
down
hook
that.
from, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
right, and Wyvern was blocking that as well.
Yep.
Did we ever see Golbez in that seed?
I don't believe so. Wherever he is, he can stay there.
I really want Golbez to be at King Queen Evelyn spot now, just so we can have all three bosses who can't block the way underground be blocking the way underground.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Just 3 big stop signs on the way to the hook route.
Are you sure you want to do this? Yes. Are you really sure? Yes. Are you absolutely positive you want to do this and do not want to reconsider this for any potential logical reason? Yes?
But yeah, I also forgot about that Wyvern, because that first spot is usually an afterthought by the time you finish Baron in Part 2.
It was pretty glorious to see your first position edge swing for 340 damage, and then you just take the reset and run right back in and swing for 5-something.
Yeah, I was like, come on, Edge, let's do that again. Let's turn back time, and you can show me what you're really made of, because that was not impressive at all.
And,
well, this is supposed to be your final game, right? Do you have a new one scheduled against
Yes, I had to reschedule with Night Dew due to some issues he had to take care of that were a lot more important than a video game tournament on the internet. So we'll be doing our next match next Thursday. I believe at 7 or 4? I'd have to recheck.
That's I'm actually rescheduling a match myself to around that time. Oh, but that how are you feeling after you took that first wipe to Zeromus. That was definitely a very brutal wipe.
Yeah, I like the strat, going in with the levels and berserkers and trying to figure out a good way to get through that phase 2 transition. And I haven't quite nailed it perfectly. I've got it up to fairly consistent, but not like 100%. So I took a deep breath, knowing that with a little bit better luck, I would be able to get it. But I was definitely worried about where harumph was, because getting a wipe at medio phase, a lot of times that's game. That's you give up your first place, your chance for first place, and it's up to the opponent at that point to give the lead back to you, as it were.
Yeah, that is a very scary situation to be in. Harumph did go and get stymied a bit by that alt gauntlet, and they did not have the best time with that. They were not as well prepared and had to go and just do a bit more of a brute force method through that.
Yeah, that alt gauntlet at the Leviathan spot is pretty spicy. You get through the first couple, and then there's an Arachne, and if you weren't aware that they cast Quake over and over again, that's the first stumbling block. And then the second one ends up being the summoner who summons clappers, and those guys do 50% damage with their blitz. And if that wasn't enough, you can just go ahead and fight 2 clappers. No, you didn't have enough clappers.
Yeah, the Arachnes like to go and say, hey, do you have float in this area with all the damage tiles? Are you sure you don't need it? Here, let me go and teach you exactly why you need it. Go get float before you come down here.
And those Arachnes are beefy, too.
Yeah.
They have a lot of HP.
I remember being afraid of them as when I played them played the game as a small child. They did Quake, and Quake was scary, but I always had float, so I always felt safe at that point. But otherwise, that alt gauntlet is just 3 conjurers in a row, so you don't know what you're getting your first time there. But once you get it, you start regretting immediately once you see 2 of them.
Yep. Absolutely. That's a very interesting spot. It takes a lot of knowledge of the vanilla game in order to get through it nice and smooth. Especially with this seed, because we had no hourglasses in this seed and there were no sirens underground. It was not easy to try to figure out a brute force. I'm gonna level up to 2000 HP and then everything's fine.
Yeah, Harumph went and stole a lot more sirens than you did. You stole only a handful of them, while Harumph had a very healthy stack of 15 when he started his Zeromus grind. That was...
I don't like stealing sirens, or more sirens than I think I need, and I was just kind of gambling that maybe the moon had sirens, or maybe I just sort of have enough experience points at the end to fight Zeromus, and I sort of did. Not for a consistent battle, but it was enough at the end. Just a little bit good luck, and then it's fine.
Yeah, you made do with what you had, and that was definitely something. We were in here in the booth going and counting out experience of. I was wondering if you're going to go and take some of the behemoth fights in Cave Bahamut to go and get some extra experience to push Rydia closer to Nuke, because I was definitely assuming you were going to go for reflex strength there. You proved me very much so wrong, so GG's to you for that.
Oh man, when I saw the heroine robes in the Fey March, I was like, oh, great. I don't need to search for any more characters. I'm just going to turn Rosa and Rydia into berserkers, and then I'll have the party that I always want.
No magic, only melee.
Only melee. You do magic? Here, put this on, take this bow, and shoot instead.
That's
definitely just a glorious race all around. Yeah, your knowledge going into of what bosses you were going to come up against in that alt gauntlet paid off tremendously.
Yeah, this was overall a very fun seed to play, if a little bit frustrating. You know, just a little bit frustrating. But it was overall a very fun seed to play. I feel like nothing was given to you in this scene. There wasn't a whole lot of great loot at the beginning of the game. You get Edge, but you get no weapons for Edge. And you have to try to figure out some way to get through the seed, and I enjoy that aspect of this rando.
It's definitely a very fun part of this rando. Oh, do you have any final questions, PK?
No, I mean, very well run. I'm sure we'll discuss it at some point more in depth later. I was hoping you were gonna say you faded Antlion as a nod to me, and not that you forgot to fade Antlion, which is why most people fade Antlion. But other than that, DG, congrats. 2-0. You've got a big match coming up to determine your table rating, but this was very well done.
Yeah, how are you feeling about your match against Night 2? I'm sorry, I forgot to ask that.
Oh, that's gonna be a banger, I'll tell you that much. I have no idea where I stand with Night 2, because I haven't played a whole lot of games against him, so my record is basically a statistical anomaly, my existing record against him, rather. So when I go into the match, I'm just gonna play my best game and hope it works out. But it is very nerve-wracking to have Night 2 as my final opponent that determines whether or not I get the nice pass up to the tables, or if I have to fight it out in the Magma route.
Yeah, but you are guaranteed to be in the Mega route now, so congratulations again, and good luck in your future match.
Thank you very much, and before I sign off, I want to give a big shout out to our Restreamed team. We have PK and Bakashinobi on comms, Oscar424 on tracking, and Scalakitty on the research. Thank you very much for listening to this show. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, and thank you for showing off your racing skills today.
Well, that was Jeebus. Jeebus now 2-0 with the opportunity to join some people at 3-0, the direct route to the table. There are two other paths, Baka, as we've Harumph finishing. I don't think we're going to see too much difficulty with this C fight. Maybe you'd like to just give a quick run-through of what's to come in the tournament.
Indeed. So there are the next stage that all the runners are trying to get to is the table stage. There will be about 32 runners going and doing a set of 6 matches against a set of opponents, and from there we'll be going in, looking at records and determining brackets to go and do the final top 16. But before we get there, there are 3 ways to get to the tables. 4 technically, but one of them is a special case. The best and easiest way is to have a bye from the Fabul Gauntlet, which our top 2 placers, Invenerable and Rivers McCown, acquired. And Venerable's the one who chose to use it because Rivers McCown was unable to be on participate in this tournament due to real-life events. Just a lot of demand from work from him. That leaves the remaining ways of coming through your group stage with a 3-0 record. That allows you to go and get to the table right away. Go through the Magma route, where any players with 2 wins will go into a pool against other players with 2 wins, and we'll be doing 3 rounds of Swiss. At the end of that, there will be play-in races where the top record runners will go and be playing against each other, and the top 3 placers from a race among the top placing Swiss candidates. That is very hard to say.
Twister.
The top 3...
The 3-0 Swiss runners will face off.
Yes. And any runner who doesn't advance... There'll be 3 advancers from that race. Any of the runners who don't advance will go and play again, but this time with the 2-1 runners from the Swiss round added in, and the top 3 of that again will go and play off. So, first playoff race is just the top 3 of Swiss, or the 3-0 runners of 3 rounds of Swiss. Next round is the remaining 3-0 and the 2-1 runners from that round of Swiss. Top 3 from that group move on to table. And then there's the hook route, where same setup as Magma, 3 rounds of Swiss. Top players, 3-0 players play against each other, but there will only be 1 person advancing from that playoff race, And then the second playoff race starts with the remaining 3-0 players, and they're all the 2-1 players going, and the one player from that race advances well. And speaking of advancing, harumph went and just completely decimated Zeromus while I was talking too much. GG's to harumph. We'll see if we can go and get him in here for an interview, or if he's, kind of... Oh, I believe we're joined by them now.
Oh, replay, there we go. GG. Harumph.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask the same question I asked you to start. How did you feel when you cleared all the key item spots and didn't have a darkness crystal?
It was like, okay, alright, there's 3 spots left. We've got package, we've got the super spicy earth crystal-less tower, or sealed cave. I happen to guess the last one.
There's actually one more spot that you missed. There is also Kingpin Evelyn spot on the hook round.
Actually, that crossed my mind here, but I figured I'd do the sealed tower first. Well, I guess 3rd out of 4.
Yes, that's entirely fair. That's just something I do want to... it's a place it can be. There's been some very rude ways that can show up. But, yeah, that was a mean seed. That was a mean seed that didn't require you to technically clear anything beyond your required antlion to get the Luca key from in the free chest of Feymarch to then go to Sealed Cave. But I'm guessing you don't like gambling that hard.
That would be... Yeah, there would be a certain level of insanity that would be required here to come up with that routing and have it be right. Although, to be fair, any spot you check here is the right spot until it isn't.
Yes.
True.
No, that's... when you only need one item for go mode and it's the Darkness Crystal, yes, I agree. It's, how did you feel when you saw those objectives?
I was thinking potentially Jet Seed. Because, alright, so we got the antlion nest here. That's going to be pretty straightforward. Then you find Darkness Crystal, get a grind in at some point, and then go. Turns out that one item took a little bit longer to find.
Yeah, I do want to go and commend that there were exactly 10 key items on Earth, which was, it was at least generous when it came to actually getting a grind going.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Yeah, for me, this seed was... There was 3 stories to that seed. There was the stuff leading up to Alt Gauntlet, the stuff after Alt Gauntlet, and then Alt Gauntlet.
Yes, that Alt Gauntlet really did a number on you, unfortunately.
Yeah, looking back here, I should have done the grind right away, just to make that fight easier. Instead of banging my head against the wall. I think I may have been trying to be too aggressive in terms of trying to progress through the seed. And if I had done the grind right away here, that 15-minute margin of victory, I think, disappears for the most part.
Definitely. Jeebus, in his interview, conceded that he had forgotten about Antlion until after going into Castle Eblin, Cave Eblin to shop. So you did make it to that Alt Gauntlet with a slight time advantage, but that is quite the rude Alt Gauntlet, as everyone saw there.
Yeah, it was rude here at the levels I was at here. I think once again, with the additional levels here, it was pretty smooth sailing at that point on here. And then after that here, then it was just a matter of finding Darkness Crystal, and then at that point, it was like, yeah, I'll get my grind in here. And then, yeah, it was smooth sailing after that. But yeah, that Alt Gauntlet here, and how I handled that probably cost me the race.
It definitely was. You were definitely at the Alt Gauntlet first, and Jeebus did go and pass you getting out of the Alt Gauntlet. So that did unfortunately go and cost you a fair bit. It's a learning experience, if nothing else. There's a lot to go and take from these races where you're playing against other good players. Jeebus is definitely no slouch, so...
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Yeah, when the groups were announced for this for Threemus zone here, I was like, there are a few names in which I would prefer not to go against because I knew they're going to be tough competition, and Jeebus is definitely one of them. In the amount of in all the seeds we've put up times in here, and it's like about 30 or so, because I haven't been racing for all that long. Jeebus has been faster every single time. The fact that, aside from, if it weren't for that all gauntlet here, the fact I was able to pretty much keep up with them here, I think, is definitely something I'll take as a positive for my next race. If going into the tournament, if you told me you could have a 1-1, you could have a 1-1 record and have a match here to make it to Magma seed, I was like, yeah, I'll take it. I haven't been doing this for that long. Been trying to learn the ropes here, and I think I'm getting better. I have Nitsky up for my last match, and I'm not taking that lightly as well either. So I was gonna take the lessons from this seed here and come back for match 3 and hopefully make it to the Magma group.
You've been playing well. I mean, you have a win over Nightdew, who was the one in your group, I believe, who made the last tournament. So, I mean, you've been playing excellently thus far. But when you watch this back, you'll see Jeebus was very much aware of the danger that you were heading into that old gauntlet. So it definitely it's one of those things that you're moving forward. That's going to be something you're going to be prepared for now.
Yeah, and for just starting, it's a lot of things to learn for free enterprises. There's a lot of niche situations that come with seeing them once it goes and it helps you out a lot. And this is certainly one that is very hard to go and get used to because all gauntlet's still kind of new. Yep. So good for all the work you've done so far getting through the seed. Is definitely you are up against a hard opponent. You're up against a hard fight as well, and you still went and did a very good job getting through all of it. So definitely something to go and take from the seed.
Thanks here. Thank you thank you to everyone Restreamed. Thank you to our commentators Bakashinobi and PK, as well as our track and restreamer Oscar424 and Scala. That was a nice seed, Scala.
That it was. They had us in the first half with that. Okay, it's going to be a D machine grind, telestart, and then there we are. Dmist.
I was so pulling for the darkness start just because I want to sit back and watch everyone else panic.
Had it been a darkness start here, yeah, I would have been out for dinner maybe about an hour ago.
Yeah, those are definitely seeds. Well, PK, do you have any final questions?
I wanted to just say GG harumph. I'm looking forward to seeing more of you, and thanks for letting us sit up here and watch.
Yeah, my pleasure here. Looking forward here to the next match, and of course, GG's to Jeebus as well. That was quite the race.
Indeed. And when is your next match again?
It's next Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern time.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it. Have a great night.
You too. Have a good night.
Oh, I think we have a raid target lined up. Baka, I will leave the outro to you, but assuming you're going to thank everyone else, I do want to thank you, Bakashinobi, for doing comms with me again. I think, are 2 for 2 on some pretty amazing seeds.
Oh, yeah, we've had some great things to talk about this seed and in the past, but there is so much more Free Enterprise to see. We're going to be sending you on to Free Enterprise to see another race going on. It's just getting started, so let's go and give the runners and the commentators there all of our love. And let's be honest, we all love Free Enterprise. Who doesn't want more? And remember, do not spoil races for people who have not seen them. Some people would like to go and see these races yourself, so please do not comment on the results of this race, but feel free to tell them it's a great one.
Yep, and big thanks to Scala and Oscar424 as well, and RPGLB.
Yes, and thank you, PK, for commentating with me. This has been a great fun.
Oh, anytime.